This video is going to be long and boring, so if you are not interested in the U.S. Optics B-10 or you're not planning on buying one, you might not want to watch this review. This is just the struggles that I had with the scope, with this little knob, and kind of just my experience going through getting it all ready. Overall, I think it's a good scope, so just watch to the end, I guess, if you're really interested in buying it. I just got home to come look at my new scope. This is the U.S. Optics B-10. This is how it was delivered by the post office. That's what the box looks like there and over there. So, been waiting on it for a while. It was back ordered. So it's been 6 weeks and 6 days. Okay, tell me when it's going.
It is.
Okay. I stopped recording by an accident, so this box was inside of that box. That was a little sleeve on the outside. And here is the scope. So it looks like nothing was damaged. Got a little thing in there. Cool. Okay, I've got my scope mounted now, and I've just verified that it's level. I'll show you what I used for that. To get it mounted, initially I used this Arasaka scope tool with the small triangle, and it just it goes up in there and gets your scope level on the flat part at the bottom. So it uses that little flat part right there and makes the scope level. But I don't trust anything, so I went ahead and set it up on that little rest and got some levels on there, and then went ahead and got a line down there so I could make sure that it was level with that yellow line. So you'll see the yellow line down there, and then you'll see the reticle. Uh-oh. But anyway, that's what I did to mount it and verify it. I took the U.S. Optics B-10 out today to the range to get it zeroed. Used 168 grain Hornady match ammo and didn't have any problems with the scope. It had all the adjustments were right on. Everything went as expected. One thing I noticed is that when it was on 10 power, the crosshairs are very coarse. So I'll go ahead and put a picture of that in. Just note that it shows the reticle pretty clear, but all of everything else was clear in the picture. I don't know why the picture came out with the targets so blurry, but everything in the scope is really nice. Could see really well, and it worked exactly how it's supposed to. What I'm going to go ahead and do is adjust the knobs to 0. I wasn't exactly sure how that's going to go, and set the 0 stop. I haven't really seen a lot of videos on this or people doing this, so I figured I'd try it for the first time on video and see how it goes. So the first thing the directions say is to go ahead and use the palm of your hand and turn this counterclockwise a quarter of a turn. So that's a quarter of a turn. Then it says to unlock it, and it says to pull up on this. Let's see. Huh. Pull, let's see. Place it back in the unlock position, and while pulling upwards on the knob, rotate the knob to read 0. Do not be alarmed by the audible clicks. Okay, so I'm going to look through the reticle and make sure it doesn't move. Okay, now it's back on 0. I will lock it. So while I was adjusting it, it says to pull up on the knob. I assumed that it was actually going to move up. It did not move up. And it was clicking, but everything seemed to work okay. So I'll just go ahead and tighten this back down. Get it as tight as I can. Alright. Okay, so for the windage knob, what I have to do is leave it in the locked position and then unscrew these set screws. Just have to back them out a bit. I think there's only 2. Okay, I've got them backed out. Now what I need to do is pull the knob out, look through the reticle and set it to 0. Make sure it doesn't move. Then lock it in. Tighten that down. Okay, so now they're locked in place and it should be zeroed. Now I have to set the 0 stop. Now I'm going to go ahead and set the 0 stop. So what you're supposed to do is turn it to the point where you want it to stop. So I've turned it to about 9, and now what I'll do is go ahead and turn this screw up here counterclockwise or clockwise until it bottoms out. Okay, and then back it off just a bit and then test it out. Okay, I'm going to turn it in a little more, back it off just a bit. It's still not stopping where I want it to. So back it off. Still not quite right. So I'll just go ahead and well, it's taking a little bit to get it adjusted. Let's just leave it there. Yeah, that 0 stop's going a little further than I wanted it to. There we go. That's where I want it to go. Alright, so we got the zero stop adjusted. We've got everything set to 0. The locks are all in place. Alright, I think that's it. Well, I thought that was it, but it wasn't. After I got the scope zeroed, I went up on the elevation knob, like that, and this piece right here came undone, and I lost my zero. I tried to tighten it back down, and as soon as I went back down, the zero stopped it. So I completely lost my zero, and everything was messed up. So I've gone over it a few times. Well, what I did was I loosened it up with my palm. I got it tightened, and it just kept doing that. It kept loosening up. So I think there was something wrong with the threads because I used my fingers like this and tightened it really tight. Then it was fine. However, then I couldn't get it undone. I couldn't get it loosened. I had to actually use the end of a screwdriver and my e-cigarette to hit on it to get it loosened, to actually try to zero it again. But after I did that, it's been fine, and I've been able to adjust it wherever I want it. Just lock it in place, loosen this up, move it wherever I want, lock it back down, then move this, then move it up or down as much as I want, and it's been fine. And I've also set the zero stop, and it sets exactly where it's supposed to. So I don't know exactly what was wrong at that time, but it seems to have cleared itself up, and it keeps working properly now. I'm going to go back to the range in the morning and re-zero it. We'll see what happens after that. Luckily, my upload got rejected by YouTube, I guess because it's over 15 minutes. So this is going to be a part 1 and a part 2. So take a break. Go grab yourself a beer or a cigarette or whatever you want to have, and then come back and watch part 2.